passes of the Himalaya and a traveller hangs out his prayer flags. Many come here to explore the wilderness, but 15,000 feet below, some other exploration is going on.
When we first came here, we thought Nepal was a place for hard expedition river runners. But when we got here, we found it just a great place for a recreational trip, and we've been coming back ever since.
Kathmandu is such a unique place. It's got its touristy areas, and then it's got its traditional areas that are just unbelievable. It's a really friendly, great place to be. Colourful, full of life.
We'll show you how Pip and Simon learn rafting in a minute. First though, canoeists. Jerry Moffat.
You can fly directly to Nepal with your own kayak, which can offer some interesting challenges, or you can hire a kayak in Kathmandu.
I think when people first arrive out, the most important thing is getting out of Kathmandu. Arrive and spend a couple of days in Kathmandu, get your first permit together, and get out the door.
You can't rely on public transport in this country, you've got to do it yourself.
High in the Himalaya in the time of Hindi legend, the god Shiva drove his trident into the ground. 3 springs arose, creating the Trisuli River. The Trisuli is the most popular river for rafters. It offers flat scenic floats or whitewater action, varying in length from half to 4 days. Nepal's main highway runs by the river, offering a variety of starting points. Both Trisuli Bazaar and Bairini are 3 hours from Kathmandu, but most of the trips start further down. The river is big water class 3 with 2 class 4 rapids, Teen Debbie and Upset. Most of the whitewater trips finish at Marsiandi Junction at Mugling, the crossroads of Nepal. Most of the rivers you will see were filmed at medium levels in early winter. Eastern rivers are a little lower. On the Trisuli, budget trips are available and can be good value, although you travel in different buses and eat more basic food in camps closer to the road. David Allardyce explains a top-level company's policy.
We charge between $35 and $50 a day, and that enables us to meet the standards that we require. Now, this is several things. It's like better quality food, paying the guides better, making sure you've got good quality international standard equipment, good transport, and even down to things like, maybe you'll pay a bit more money. You might have rafts that are less heavily laden or loaded and take an oar frame as well. And there's much more fun in paddling a near-empty paddle raft as opposed to paddling one that's, got 10 days food and equipment and 8 people on it.
At the riverside, the guide will give a safety briefing.
And first thing and first command is forward paddle. And forward paddle technique, lean forward, stretch your arm, and your blade should be in the water, okay?
Life jackets should not be too old, should have plenty of buoyancy, and should be secured tightly. Helmets should not be too old or cracked. They're more for protection against your colleagues' paddles. They can be used in greeting the Nepalese in the traditional fashion. If you do fall in the water, remember to keep your feet up and pointing downstream, and remember to hold on to your paddle. It's common practice to run single raft trips, but this isn't really safe. You should check that another raft or kayak will accompany your trip.
Rafting in Nepal is as much a journey as it is about the whitewater. About 70% of the time is spent floating down beautiful scenery, catching rays and letting the good times roll.
Gary Moffat and Guy Robbins.
And we kind of suggest that the best trip to do straight off the bat is to come down and jump on the Trisuli.
Just sets you up really nicely. It's a great introduction to boating in Nepal. You know, especially you're going to come out in October when everything's still fairly high. You know, you can get on, you can get beaten up a bit, you can get used to the water, and it'll get you set up really nicely for the rest of your boating holiday.
Rafting always looks incredibly dangerous, but really a well-organised raft trip is very safe. A friend of mine said it was a bit like a roller coaster ride with buckets of water thrown over her.
Nobody else got the butterflies. I always got the butterflies. I thought it was really exciting. I got a huge rush off every single rapid.
I think nothing actually works better than rafting more than anything else for bringing a group of people together. I mean, you can go out and run class 4-5 water with people who've never been rafted before. There's no other craft you can do that with. And I'd say that 60 or 70% of the people we're dealing with have never been rafting before. Sometimes it's just as well they don't know a hell of a lot about whitewater, but you know, they learn a lot as they go down.
Paddle rafting is just such a great team buzz. I've had several people come up to me after a rafting trip and they said, "That's the best thing I've ever done in my life."
How was that one?
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Excellent.
Wow.
Yeah, the camping as well is one time when everybody has to mix together.
I'm not supposed to be here.
Pull their weight, preparing the food and all the chores around the campsite.
Obviously, if a flush toilet is important to you, then maybe you shouldn't be on a rafting trip.
The toilet is round. It's cylindrical. Totally perfect. Whoa, it's perfect.
It's the best toilet we've ever seen. In fact, we've called it Terry Toilet.
Most people are worried about stomach upsets, but in my experience, the reality is that if you follow good hygiene, this is unlikely to happen to you.
The food's so clean, everything's washed in iodine, everything's prepared with real care.
Most rafting companies now follow good ecological principles and cook on gas or kerosene stoves. Of course, on special occasions, if driftwood is available, then there's nothing like eating around a campfire.
It's very nice.
The Nepalese make you so incredibly welcome. They're very, very understanding to all us dreadful Westerners, but they just want to give you a good trip, make you happy, and they will,
never get tired.
They will go out of their way to give you anything you possibly could desire.
Let's move to the rivers of eastern Nepal. The Sun Kosi is a classic river journey from the road to Tibet to the plains of India, passing through remote areas that are 3 days' walk from a road. The rapids have big waves and are straightforward, and we follow a supervised intermediate kayaker as he improves his skills. There is a lot of flat water initially, especially later in the season, but the river gets more difficult as you progress down. Below Meat Grinder at the mighty Tamba confluence, you might catch a blessing from the local holy man. Next, High Anxiety Rapid, Hakapur Village, then Hakapur Rapid. The Dude Kosi confluence is where the pioneering Mike Jones expedition finished nearly 20 years ago. Then a flurry of rapids, Jaws, Dead Man's Eddy, and the Jungle Corridor. It picks up the Arun and Timur rivers and passes Barachetra Temple before emptying into the Ganges Plain.
One of the prime things about the Sun Kosi is that it starts relatively easily and you have plenty of time to build up confidence before you reach the harder rapids lower down the river.
Nepal is an excellent place for the intermediate kayaker to come out and play around. There's several huge, long, multi-day rivers that you can do, and probably the best way to do them is with a raft support trip. And that way you're going to be paddling empty kayaks, all your equipment's carried on the rafts, and you've got people that can jump in there and pull you out the water.
Of course, the other thing about a raft supported trip is that if you come on holiday with a friend who doesn't kayak, they can come along on the raft and they'll probably have as good a time. In fact, they'll probably have a better time than you are.
On the first day back into a kayak for 10 years, a bit wobbly, not really confident at all. I thought, okay, I can paddle some flat stuff and maybe practice some rolls, but give all the rapids a miss, let someone else take the boat down the rapids. But just get more and more confident. In the end, just paddle the whole thing.
A big difference from paddling in the Himalayas compared with Europe is the power of the water. It's very important to be able to sit upright and if not lean a little bit more forwards in your kayak, keeping your arms low and always driving to where you want to go.
See where the river falls away, right around the corner on the big ridge?
Yeah, man.
It just drops away off that horizon line. Must be a big falls.
We camped the night above Hakapur, and all we could hear was the roar of the water all night long. As I'd wake up at night, I could just hear that. And we scouted it early and had a look at it. It was big.
Huge waves, big pour-overs. You've got plenty of opportunity to manoeuvre yourself around within the river, but then on the downside, if you're in the wrong place, you know you're in the wrong place and you get your arse whooped.
This is a typical water level in mid-October. Just imagine what this must look like in the monsoon. I can tell you it's monstrous.
It's one of the highlights of my life, actually. I'm just trying to get the line right. I have to get a lot of speed, so I was just really going for it. There was a small stopper at the top and just powered straight through it. It felt great. Just go, 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 go. Then over that pour over into the other stopper and really giving it some beans and it trashed me. Just wait, get the paddles in, roll it up. Great, it was excellent.
It's a rare species of natural remedies.
I've never seen so many shades of green as in the hills of Nepal after monsoon. It's monsoon that gives the villagers their crops, washes the beaches clean each year, and it's monsoon that changes the rapids. This one used to be so safe we let the punters swim down it. Now some people call it El Huesto.
There's always the option too, if you're not happy running it, you can take photos. That's a very good option. It's like, I'll take the photos, you run it.
Part of me wanted to do it because it was smooth, no rocks, there's no real danger. But I mean, everyone got trashed there. I thought, okay, it's not for me. It's nice that you can paddle the whole Sun Kosi and not have to get trashed as if you don't want to.
With an oar frame, you're just relying on your own skill and strength. But with paddle rafting, you're relying on the response you're going to get from people. It's their skill as a team and coordinating that enables you to run that water. And I think that's what makes paddle rafting more satisfying.
It's a hard decision for row rafts. You can face downstream, but you don't get enough power. Or row conventionally, but then you can't see where you're going. In the event, beach was only 3 feet off the right line, but that was enough to get hammered. I'd been in the same position 2 weeks before, hanging onto the raft and nearly pulling my arm out of its socket. I realised the raft wasn't going anywhere, so I let go and went straight down to the green room. When I came back up, I found myself under the raft. Next year, I'm getting a proper buoyancy aid. By the time we get to the last day, the punters are really into the rafting and keen to try a flip. Big Dipper's just the place for them.
Yeah, complete change of scenery. You go from this action-packed water, and then it's really serene and all spread out, and it's a lovely way to finish.
Meeting the Nepalis on the riverbank is also always a wonderful experience. The biggest problem is when you can't speak Nepali and they can't speak English, yet somehow you communicate, and it's just through the smile or touch, and you just have this feeling of a great sort of world friendship, which doesn't really require words to say anything.
Obviously, just got to respect their customs, that you're not to go around in short shorts. You've got to cover your legs. And if you abide by their customs and respect their beliefs, then you're going to get respected back.
Same with men. Around the camp, when you're there and there's no one around, you can wander around without a shirt, but if you go into a village or something, wear a shirt. Don't wear skimpy shorts. Wear fairly long shorts. Men in Nepal do wear shorts, but you'll find it's normally only low-caste men. And if you have any queries, perhaps the best people to help you with this are the Nepali guides that are along. It's their culture and they understand it.
Yeah, you realise that paddling really makes a difference.
Gives you a lot of respect for their position, because if you're paddling, you've really got to be paddling, otherwise you're not going to make it.
The local people on the rivers you're into are absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And be nice and polite with those folks, and they'll look after you really well. The more you give out, I think, as far as the more you get back.
Yeah. And if you do these sort of things and have respect, you can have a much better trip, much more contact with the people, and something that's positive. Yeah, with these river expeditions, I'd like to think that in 10 years' time, the people who are going on the expeditions will have the same experiences that we're having now.
first time we came down the river and we came to this mysterious ruined palace, we were gobsmacked. We walked around it at dusk. Just a weird, spooky place. Could have come straight out of an Indiana Jones film.
It's sometimes nice just to lie in your bivvy bag and watch the sunrise and see the colours change from that sort of flat greyness to all the vibrant greens and golden sand on the river. Other days it's nice to get up early before the sun's risen and just paddle through the mist that's rising off the surrounding vegetation.
Nepalis have known the Tamba Kosi as the River of Sorrow, and this certainly applies to kayakers if unprepared. Due to the remoteness, kayakers should consider both the consequences of any injury and where to go after they finish. A raft group carrying your gear could meet you at the Sun Kosi. The run starts on the road to Everest, and you're straight into a whole day's Class 4. The feasibility of the Class 5 drops varies with water levels. The lower section is bouncy Class 3 and 4. At the confluence, you may wish to give thanks at the temple.
We found that canoeists mixed in with the culture a lot better than the tourists, simply because they tended to do a lot of stuff for themselves. There aren't any hotels at the top there. There are just places you can get dal bhat. Dal bhat's okay as long as you don't mind spinach and rice. We suspected that where we were given to sleep was in fact the family's living quarters. We decided as a group that the grading should go interesting, entertaining and engaging, and the Tamba Kosi was definitely engaging. Many inspections and a lot of portages if you're not on form. We heard of several groups that had lost boats on this section. Camped for the night in between the two grade 5 bits. So we got up in the morning and ran straight into another very entertaining rapid that woke us all up. I've never seen a river drop so steeply as the Tamba Kosi. It was just dropping all the time, and there's just no way you can pull boats out. If you swim in that 2K of wave 5, you're going for the swim.
Normally when you scout a rapid, you bear in mind what-if scenarios. When you're kayaking in remote places, it's what if I lose my boat with all my gear, my passport, my money, my food.
Remember, every big trip you do, when you finished it, you'll be fairly burned, and sometimes people forget how burned they get.
It's real easy to come out and be on this mission, this fixed itinerary. You got to do this river, this river, this river, and you end up just totally burning out. You get sick. You're out there, operating on like 50-40%, and that's when you're going to start having problems. So do your river, take your time, have a great time, come back, mellow out, and off you go again.
Because of that wilderness, we've seen a lot of wildlife. I've seen a sloth bear down below, jackals, yellow-throated martins, a lot of rhesus monkeys, black-faced langur monkeys, and just a myriad amount of bird life. It's still about 70% untouched forest, which is very unusual in the Himalayas. I think one of the saddest things that is actually happening in this area is that there's a lot of roads going in. Obviously, with that much timber around, it's seen as a natural resource. They have plans for hydro development. But I think of all the rivers in Nepal, if you were going to save one river to be a national park or a wild and scenic river, the Kanali's the most obvious choice.
Okay, all forward, nice and steady. Nice and steady.
Excellent.
Want to make sure we get lined up, so... The landmark is that big rock, the huge big rock. We're just going to go left of that, we're just going to clip the edge of that. Big forward, go forward,